All right, guys, welcome to the line. This, based off of feedback, you guys wanted the additional call instead of every other week. You guys wanted weekly calls, which I actually think is smart. I do that in my own academy. I think that you learn so much each week and bring back questions that you want to have. We just weren't sure if you guys were going to have the bandwidth to work it into your calendars. This actually makes me very happy. What we had done in lieu of that were these hot seat coaching sessions, which we're going to keep in the calendar. I had those intercalated between the live calls so that like this week you would have the opportunity to hop on and get live coaching if you wanted it. I'm going to leave that there. So just so you guys know, it's in the calendar on Thursday. If you send an email to hotseatcoaching@burnouttoallout.co and you're available to stream live with me from 10 a.m. Eastern time to 11 a.m. Eastern time, we'll be streaming live in the Platinum Facebook page through StreamYard. I am more than happy and willing to do some hot seat coaching. Some of you might already be chewing at the bit to get some audits on your profile. Maybe you don't even have a question. You just want me to look at your profile. I love streaming live within the feed because then everybody learns, right? So you have to be willing to share with others for that. So just email us if you don't, or after this call, you get into the content and the week's almost over. It's like not Thursday yet. And you're like, man, I'd love to ask Melissa this question. Send it to the hot seat coaching email and we'll pull you up and we'll do the coaching. Okay. So today, and so with that, so now we're having weekly calls. Okay. So when Kathy and I first worked through the program, we thought it was going to be every other week. So I set the call time for an hour and a half just so we have enough time, given that we were working every other week. We may find that now that we're meeting weekly, you guys may get everything you need each week in an hour. So we might be done in an hour instead of an hour and a half now that we're meeting each week. So totally flexible on that. But if the questions are coming after an hour, we can totally keep going, okay? So we're gonna dive into just a couple of general housekeepings. And then I'd love to touch on this past week's content, Module 1. And then like talk about this week with Module 2, which is really that storefront, and kind of give you guys kind of some best practices and things just to consider that I've seen as you move through it. So first and foremost, let's see, as far as general housekeeping goes, well, we pretty much just covered all the general housekeeping. So this past week, you guys started on your avatar work, right? Is anybody interested or willing to share? I know you guys shared in the chat box a little bit, but any kind of ahas with your work on the avatar work, kind of that, and it's a mindset shift for some of you. I know. So while you guys are thinking about who wants to share or turn their mic on and talk. When I grew my business to 6 figures on Facebook. I have a PharmD. And I was a product queen. I was a sponsor monster over there. I knew everything about ashwagandha. I could recruit 15 people a month. Like, it was not a problem. The problem was I was building on sand because I wasn't talking about the business enough, right? And so for me, 2 years ago, I made this hard right shift to LinkedIn, which you guys have heard the story, and I now lead 100% with the business. But with that, took some personal growth and development with how I was leading, how I was positioning myself, and what I was talking about. Now, you guys are all massive income earners with this massive story. I totally get that. But I don't know how many of you have been leading exclusively with the business or have been leading. Why don't you guys share in the chat box? Like, is it like 50-50 you lead product business? Is it like I'd love to hear like a percentage wise. Okay, so Trudy's leading with the business. Ellen leading with the business, 80% product biz, like, yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of all over the place, business, right? So the thing is, when we're shifting over to LinkedIn, we want to think about, this is a business to business platform. Okay. 50-50 always. Okay. Talk about business, but yeah, there we go. So there's this shift in, just realizing that this platform is a business to business platform. People are looking for an opportunity, right? And like the number one thing that most of my clients are the most surprised about, if you haven't been playing on LinkedIn, is they're surprised at how quickly you can actually jump into a conversation about the business because you don't have to dance, right? Like People are there because they're networking and looking for an opportunity. So there's not this 10 steps of back and forth getting to know each other to kind of slide in the opportunity about the business. It's that we're connecting about a business opportunity, right? So that's one thing that hopefully will excite some of you guys who haven't been using the platform that much, because you have massive financial stories to tell, and you have numbers upon numbers of people in your downline who have massive financial stories to tell of being able to walk away from their 9 to 5. And I highly encourage you guys, when you get into module 3, use them in your recommendations as stories from your leadership and your impact that you've created in allowing people to walk away, right? But okay, so, but for some of you, it might have been a little bit of a mindset shift. I know some of you have been in network marketing for a couple of decades. Some of you just recently a couple of years, right? As you are thinking through and doing the avatar work and thinking through, who is it that I'm truly trying to attract over on this platform? Does anybody want to take themselves off on mute and share either who they've drilled down on, or just share their journey and kind of working through that module and thinking about who they're trying to attract on LinkedIn?
Hey, Melissa, I have a question.
Sure.
And I think I posted it in the chat because when I started 17 years ago, I was recruiting women my age, flight attendants who were burnt out, other women in my community that were looking for extra income to pay for their kids' activities. So I find myself now turning 66, and I'm like, do I want other 66-year-old women in my business? And Kathy had said to me, Carolyn, you need to attract younger people like Zach and Eden. So I said, well, tell me where they hang out, and I'll be happy to connect with them. So if, your LinkedIn stats, you were giving the average age group and, income demographics, this is where I'm confused. Who am I attracting? The next generation, my age group? Because I wrote down, my avatar, burnt out executives who are tired, unfulfilled women, people with a need for money, want to contribute, looking for time freedom, women who don't feel good about where they're at in life, the lacking of retirement income, underappreciated, underpaid. So is there an age group that I should be looking for? I know who I want to attract.
Yeah.
Now, how do I put that together?
Yeah. So let's talk through this. So the first question is the right question to ask yourself when you're thinking about drilling down who you're trying to attract is that specific demographic actually on LinkedIn and active, right? So you said you're 66 and you were a flight attendant, right? But no longer. Okay. This is where I really coach to niche down in the beginning and get really, really specific. It's going to be in module 3 or 4 where you're really actually targeting your specific network, because it's such a broad, there's 600 million people there, right? And you could cast a net so wide. The problem is you're not going to catch anyone if you're too broad, right? So I would encourage you that there's a huge pain point in the airline industry right now. Huge. There are so many people losing their jobs right now that you have that point of connection. Maybe you aren't there today, but you know their pain points. You've been in their shoes, no matter how old they are, right? And I think you have enough people in your downline that you have enough stories to really be able to convey that when you ultimately get a prospect on the line, or when whoever you're marketing to on LinkedIn, that even though you're 66, like knowing the pain points of a 35 to 45-year-old female who maybe is a flight attendant right now and was just furloughed and is wondering where their next paycheck is going to come from. They're wondering, they can't get a job in the industry that they've spent a certain amount of their career in, right? So, because I agree with you, I would step back and ask yourself, how many, when you guys are thinking about your avatar, so for you, Carolyn, how many 66-year-old females are really active on LinkedIn? I mean, I would venture to say not as many as the 45-year-olds, right? So But I think there's a lot of 30 to 40 somethings freaking out because jobs have just been cut all over the country in that industry. And you have that point of connection and validation. It's an industry you're from, so you can speak to it. Does that make sense?
Right, so I'm reaching out to people because I have the background and the expertise, I've been where they are, regardless of where I am right now in terms of my age.
100%. Yep. And I think that also is going to feed your feed, right? So we haven't really gotten to branding yet. But when you're out there making your media content in LinkedIn, right? I think that it's going to be really important for you to speak to having been in their shoes, right? So the number one mistake people make in any social media is that they showboat and they don't connect. And what I mean by that is, you could fill your feed with how free you are as a millionaire in isogenics and you're home now and you're not exposed to the germs. You don't have to worry about your job, but people aren't going to relate to that. And they're going to be like, great for you, Carolyn, like great. And they're going to scroll on, right? But if you made a post that said something along the lines of, imagine if in the air, you lost your job in the airline industry, yet you were able to match that income working from home, right? So like and people are going to be more connected to that, especially if they see in your background that you come from the airline industry. If they see that, if you can think about, it's been a while since you were in the industry, but one of the things you may want to journal on is think back to when you were a flight attendant. And what made you take a look at isogenics? And did that help you? I mean, obviously it helped you get out of that industry, right? So what made you want to run with it? What made you want to leave the industry then? Now I want you to fast forward to where these people are today in the industry that feel like they've got their backs against the wall because the economy is in the dumps. They've lost their career in the airline industry. Maybe they've been there for a decade or two and they don't know where to go now. And it was their sole source of income, right? And so those are the things you want to lead with and be putting in the feed, but then casting hope and inspiration that there is another way, right? So like for me, being a corporate dropout, it may look more like, have you ever cried yourself to the airport another week again away from your kids? Have you ever pulled into the daycare and seen the look of disappointment in your children's face again because you're the last one there to pick them up, right? Like, I'm not living it anymore, but I know my avatar is, and that's going to like shoot her in the soul way more than it is me saying, look at me at home, like making all this money, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you want your avatar to be like, oh my God, like that she's talking to me. And so we get into we try to cast so broad because we don't want to miss anybody, but when you cast really broad, you actually miss everybody because no one feels like you're talking to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have a clearer picture now because it's not about me, it's about them and where they are.
Yep. Yeah. Yes, Scott, I see you raising your hand so patiently.
Yeah, so just this might help a little bit, Carolyn. So in targeting dentists, I go back to the old marketing triangle where you have the message, the media, and the market. Well, we know the media is LinkedIn. That's what we're targeting. But the who is the market, and the what is the message. So it depends on what I found is I found two different avatars. I wrote two different avatars, and so my message is going to be a little different to one market or to that who, and to a different who, it's going to be a different message. One of them's a successful dentist who's he's paying way too much money in taxes. And the other one's struggling, burnout, and is looking for another source of income. So that messaging is going to be a little different. So maybe you'll have two avatars that you can speak to, a different message.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when you guys get into some of your branding and your content, you can certainly, maybe one day a week it's one avatar and one day a week it's the other, right? And it doesn't happen overnight. What happens is you start to create this we're like jumping way ahead, but you start to really create this know, love, and trust factor so that by the time you actually get the prospect on the phone, a lot of times they feel like they already know you. They're resonating with you so much. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten on the phone with prospects and they're like, I feel like I know you. Like, you feel like a sister to me. You guys will hear from Danielle this week. She is a pharma rep with 4 little kids. You know, I found her on LinkedIn and she saw my stories, and, you know, I had my little kids in the background, and I talked about the pains of, you know, being in the industry and being a mom, and how, you know, I casted a vision of what this industry could do for people. And, you know, she followed me for like 6-7 months before she ever got on the phone with me. But the moment she got on the phone, she signed up and she raced to exec in 2 months. And now she's in the bonus pools. You know, it's like, but I was very niched down and very clear with who I was trying to attract, right? Does anybody else want to share what they're discovering about their avatar, or ask questions about the avatar work?
I have one question.
Sure, Cindy.
Can you speak to those of us that this is all we've ever done?
Yeah.
I have been in direct selling network marketing forever. I'd love to find people that maybe have tried other companies and haven't found success yet in the industry. So I found, you know, I feel like I know what I want, but this was definitely a little challenging for me. I've been on LinkedIn for a while and I feel like I'm really trying to, you know, like you're saying, really zone in on who I'm looking for. But can you speak, like, what would you use? Speak a little bit to people that we don't have a story before network marketing.
Right. So first of all, I think that you leverage that you have a successful business. The asset is the network, right? Murray, he's not on here today, Murray Miller, but you guys can, those of you who've been in network marketing for quite some time, if you go look at his profile, I know he was in the financial industry too, but, you know, he talks about the asset of a private network, right? As far as that goes. So just like when you're getting into this week, which you guys are going to start working on your headline, your summary section, that storefront, I think he's done a really good job of articulating our industry in a way that doesn't come across as MLM or a pyramid, right? That a lot of corporate professionals are like, oh, right? And so the goal is like to attract them to this idea and get them on the phone to really then cast a vision of what the opportunity truly is, right? But Cindy, what I would recommend is that you can still completely drill down on an avatar. And it doesn't have to be you, right? You've been in this industry your entire life. It can be, if you think about maybe some of the top leaders in your downline, that it did free them, you know, it allowed them to walk away from their 9-to-5. And maybe you want to interview them, right? So maybe you want to take this avatar worksheet and like get 30 minutes in their calendar, some of your top leaders that have been able to walk away, and get their pain points, get what they like did not sleep about, like what, you know, they woke up thinking about, like what drove them to relentlessly work this business till it worked for them and they were able to walk away. Because you guys have so many success stories in your downlines, it's insane. So maybe, that's your content. Oh my gosh, if I had that many success stories in my downline, like that could literally fill your feed. It could be a highlight once a week, right? I remember when I first left corporate, every one of my upline is a millionaire with Isogenics. Like Amanda Ham, who introduced me, Renee Schreibman, Elizabeth Laconey, like all the way, Jessica Johnson, they're all millionaires, right? So one of the things I did on LinkedIn, like for once a week, I did a photo of them. I even did a before and after them, not weight loss. Okay. I did a before and after of the glow of entrepreneurship and freedom from corporate. And what I did was I was highlighting how much, I'm not healthier in a nutritional way, like you're probably, like a lot of people think, but I was showcasing like the glow and the happiness of working for yourself and the transformation that happens when leaving a 9-to-5 and stepping into ownership, and how good it looks on you, that there's more time to take care of yourself. And so that is something I reached to my upline to do, to be able to put through my LinkedIn feed. You guys could do something like that with your downlines. And, you know, to this day, Cindy, once a week or at least once a month, I'm highlighting someone in my downline who's just had smashing success that month. And it's someone in a high profile 9-to-5 job that I can tag on LinkedIn that it creates massive social proofing for people within that industry that are following them. It helps even with street credit for them to then recruit the professionals. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, I mean, that, I think for many of you that you could totally start like tomorrow folding that into content that you're kicking out each week. And if you've got a brand team that's working with you on that, you could like plan out your calendar for a couple of months of just finding all your top leaders, finding some of their pain points, and why they drove this business, what life looks like now, and you know what the future looks like, why they're excited, and then feature them and tag them. And that's going to show you as the massive leader that's helps set all these people free. And when you're tagging them, you're broadcasting to that profession and that network. Does that make sense? Trudy, I see you raising your hand.
Yeah, you, Cindy, you and I are the same. I asked Melissa this information on the Facebook group this week, and what she gave me was really good. And so it's in that video if you want to go watch it. But she said the angle come from is like how much we bring in as $1 million earner to the company. And I think it's $28 million. If you make $1 million a year in Isogenics, you and your team bring in 28 million into the company. I asked Mac to verify that. And I also asked Kathy. So they're getting those numbers because I think that's really strategic to be able to use that in your profile. And what your organization does, per year, if it's a different number, if you make a different amount, and how many people you lead, etc. So yeah, that was really helpful, Melissa, to help my mind shift to how I would focus on the business. A lot of my team is built from killer, awesome boss babes that were in the other company I was with, and we were schlepping kitchen tools and getting paid hardly anything. So they had the work ethic. They just needed the right comp plan, and they needed to look and feel amazing because we were in the food industry. So that was a huge blessing, although I have other leaders that were not in network marketing, but for myself, that was very helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, Trudy. I totally forgot that I even gave that, that feedback. But when you think about these professionals that you're recruiting on this platform, like numbers speak, those numbers may not speak to like a stay-at-home mom that's scrolling through Instagram, but to a corporate professional who maybe is in sales, who's used to seeing sales numbers, seeing that Trudy has a business that does 28 million in sales per year, and maybe even put some statistics in there and the number of people who've been able to retire because of your business, right? Like that's huge. And that's just massive, credibility for you, for sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. And you guys are in the chat box. I think you guys are sharing some good information down there. Okay. Zach says it's, your total BV times 1.6 for your sales. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I don't know how you figure your total BV. There you go. Awesome. What other questions about avatar work do you guys have? Because I know this was just week 1. And you're going to be journaling on this, and it'll change. You'll kind of navigate a little as you go. The one other thing I wanted to speak to, because Trudy, you actually hit on something I wanted to hit on, and that is that there are a lot of professionals who have a side gig and they don't talk about it on LinkedIn. Okay. And a lot of them haven't had a whole lot of success in their side gig, and they're afraid to talk about it on LinkedIn. And that's where someone like, Trudy, who's been a tried and true network marketer, or Cindy, you very well could scoop up a ton of what I call like closet network marketers over there that aren't talking about their business and maybe aren't very successful in their business. So you're going to have to decide what angle you want to take on that platform. Are you trying to attract the corporate professional who doesn't really understand this industry and casting a vision to them that you can help them become financially free? Or are you like bold, loud, and proud, network marketer that's crushing it and inspiring a lot of corporate professionals out there that don't have the cojones to actually own that they're dabbling in something, but they haven't been successful so far? If that makes sense. That's up to you, right? All right. What other questions about avatar work? Does anybody want to share where they've kind of drilled down and they feel like they're pretty focused, or that they need some more coaching on before we talk about kind of moving forward? You guys are good. Now, there was one other segment in the exercise this past week. I lovingly call it the snowflake exercise. Those of you who've been
Melissa, Joni raised her hand. I don't know if you see
I'm
that.
sorry. Go, Joni. Unmute yourself. I have a hard time managing this whole dash. Where are you?
You're muted. Oh, John, she was muted.
Okay, I unmuted, but I didn't want to slow anybody down because the avatar thing has been an issue for me. I have thoughts on my brain of who I'm looking for, but I really don't know how to get it out there because, I just do. So if you say more men are on LinkedIn, and so the thought process I have is I'm sure there's a lot of people that are not doing anything that were very successful in their careers till 65, or if they retired, and would love the challenge of
yes,
leadership and mentorship and that kind of stuff. But how do I make myself a man? I mean, I don't know how to do.
You don't have to. So, Joni, this is a great conversation. So, when I first started owning this industry, and before I really niched down to moms, like late 30s, early 40s, my branding wasn't as tight. I brought in men all the time, which is why I had to bring Murray Miller in all the time. Cause I'm like, at the time I'm like 37, I've got babies in diapers, and I was bringing in men who are like 55 to 60, really a lot of them looking to jump into something else. They're ready to recreate. They're fascinated by diversifying their income streams. The average millionaire has 7 streams. I can't tell you how many people are on LinkedIn looking to sell franchises, on LinkedIn looking for angel investors. And it's because there's a ton of men over there who have the money mindset and want additional income streams, right? So I say that the market is really ripe, especially right now. I think in the next 2 to 3 months, as corporate consolidate, there's going to be a massive bloodbath. There always is every November for companies who are in financial constraints, but with COVID and everything, people are going to be, there's going to be a lot of people in their late 50s who are given a package right now and weren't ready to retire, right? So that's going to be where is your branding on spot, where you're attracting those types of people. It doesn't have to be a female. If you can become a thought leader in diversifying income, creating an income producing asset, starting a business in e-commerce, create that kind of content and branding in your feed while connecting and finding those men, you can be a woman. I for sure found that when I first started on LinkedIn. There's a ton of them.
Okay, so question is right now, your hot seat coaching. I'd like to do that with that.
Okay.
How I do that, I don't really know. I've got.
Oh yeah. So just email, and this is for everybody. Hot seat coaching at burnouttoallout.co. Hot seat coaching at burnouttoallout.co. I'll take 4 one-on-one coaching segments for 15 segments a piece for an hour. You just submit your question to that email address and we'll confirm you and give you.
I want one. So there's no, whoever's keeping track. Okay. Hot seat
coaching.
Yep. To burnout.
At burnouttoallout.co.
Okay. So that's number 1. Now I have another comment. Carolyn, this is to her because her stuff really triggered thoughts for me, is I think you need to look at that for Steve. I mean, bring that into what you're looking for, because he was in corporate with the airlines, correct? Okay. So those are things that I think that you should.
He was not with the airlines, no.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't know what it was, but it was corporate there. So anyway, that's my thought for you. But anyway.
But thank you for that. That's a good point.
Okay.
Yes, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jenny? Yep.
I'd like a little work with my avatar also, please, Melissa. So I've been in network marketing for over 35 years and been passionate about our industry. But during that time, I have also had periods, generally between companies,
Mhm.
where I went back into my profession. And my professional background, high school teacher,
Okay.
mental health counselor. I also was a franchise owner. That's a
Oh, okay.
little piece. But
Yeah.
so when I thought about my avatar, I thought about all the people who are attracted to the helping profession because they just really want to help people. Teachers, counselors, nurses, people who are typically underpaid and have pretty high stress, demanding jobs. Burnout is high in the helping profession.
Mhm.
So I thought, okay, so let's really narrow it down here. And I could really relate to what Carolyn said. I'm 68, and I'd really like to attract younger people into the business. So I came up with a headline, educator turns entrepreneur, burned out teacher to millionaire mentor. And I was really excited about it. And then I heard you say on another call, teachers aren't really showing up on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
So I thought, where's that put me with that as my headline?
Yeah.
So I think, I know that probably nurses are, and I'm guessing more teachers might be now with COVID and how the professional demands have turned their world upside down.
Right.
But any input that you could give me around maybe how to broaden the avatar a little bit would be really appreciated.
So gosh, all good stuff. I actually wrote a couple things down I want to give you some advice on because you've got some things you can play with. First and foremost, between teachers and nurses are like viral on LinkedIn right now. And nurses, they've had a really stressful year. Teachers have too, but their nurses are everywhere. Actually, I just had a woman share a testimonial in my academy earlier today who is a nurse who's niched down to specifically nurses this year because their work-life balance is insane right now. Their life is on the line. Some of them are incredibly overworked. Others have been completely furloughed, depending on which industry you're in the healthcare, whether it's something that's elective, like if you're in peds, business is so slow because people are not kids aren't sick. People aren't bringing their kids in or for elective stuff. Like my pediatrician was telling us business is so slow right now. Nurses' hours are being cut, right? So they're actually really, really active on LinkedIn. But nurses make more money. A lot of nurses make more money than teachers do. Okay. And so this brings me back to the money mindset piece. So the one thing I heard you say is that you were looking for people who are overworked and underpaid. And I think what you have to consider is the average income on LinkedIn is $100,000 a year, average, right? So I would challenge you that most people on LinkedIn don't necessarily feel underpaid. They just feel like they don't have time. That is the ROI they're looking for. I made multiple six figures in my day job. I was not looking to make more money. I was declining on promotions because I knew if I took another promotion, I would never see my kids. I knew if I took another promotion, I might get a divorce because I never saw my husband, right? And so part of it is kind of backing up and being like, okay, who's active on this platform and what's their mindset around money? What's their mindset around time? And, you're much more likely to find someone on LinkedIn who's actually showing up and like appreciates money and like knows and likes money, right? They know money and they like money. Their money mindset's not too poor. It's more that they're overextended and they're not as happy at work and they're burnt out. And that's why they're over there looking for an opportunity, right? So it's interesting because I've coached over 350 students through my LinkedIn training right now. And it's the teachers and fitness instructors that I'm just telling you from my experience, they don't get a lot of luck finding people over there unless fitness and being a fitness instructor is their side job, right? So like when I was in the corporate world, I had some employees. I had a pharmacist that worked for me, but she was a spin instructor on the weekends, right? She did it for fun. So you might be able to find people in the fitness arena on LinkedIn, but they're not leading with it on that platform. And teachers, you know, a lot of teachers have chosen that industry because they're passionate about that industry, not because they want to make a ton of money, right? And so they're not really networking and connecting professionally on LinkedIn because that's just not where teachers hang out. That's what I have found. If anybody else has had a different experience, you know, feel free to share. So I would suggest drilling down on nurses big time, because there is, my team's bringing in healthcare professionals left and right now. Nurses are looking for a different way to do things. And they they care about people, right? And this is an industry where we care about people and we want to make a difference in people's lives. And we're a health and wellness company. We've brought in so many, especially mid-level practitioners right now. So we brought in a lot of nurse practitioners who've been furloughed and they can't pay for their groceries right now because they're not seeing patients and they're not being paid. Chiropractors whose practices have been shut down or their patients aren't coming in and they're looking for a secondary income stream. Tons of functional medicine pharmacists who are looking for a way to incorporate isogenics as a secondary income stream and a virtual offering to counsel patients for weight loss, right? So I would totally drill down on the nurse piece. And I also, you know, maybe for like 2.0, after you've drilled down on nurses, I would think about your history as a franchise owner. You know, like I said, I've actually coached clients who are not in network marketing that wanted coaching on branding and recruiting to recruit for franchises, right? And they get these massive bonuses for finding people who want to invest in a franchise off of LinkedIn, right? Well, think about how much it costs to invest in a franchise. Think about the risk, right? Think about the skin in the game for something like that. Now you have a leg to stand on to say, I have been a franchise owner. I've been a school teacher. I've been a franchise owner. Like I've done the 9 to 5. I've been in franchise. There's no other industry that's better than this. So in network marketing, right? Like you can talk about the low risk, the lack, you know, the no overhead, the no bricks and mortar, no utilities. I mean, I could go on and on and on. But that's like a whole nother niche for you, especially right now. You know, I just did a podcast interview with the owners of Burn Boot Camp. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with that gym. There's like 250, 300 of them nationally. And they were popping. Business was great till about 8 to 10 months ago. And now, you know, they've just come to a screeching halt. So those are the types of people I would consider drilling down with the avatar work versus a school teacher. So this is all really good conversation for all of you guys to think about as you're thinking through your avatar, kind of taking a step back and saying, okay, is this prototype really on LinkedIn? What's their money mindset? Are they looking to grow and connect? Like, is the age demographic right? Because you don't want to waste your time, right? You want to, let's get laser focused on a demographic that's there, is hungry, and is open. What do you think about that, Bonnie?
I think it's really great. And I've never been a nurse, but I have worked in medical education, working in doctors' offices. I've set up wellness programs. My undergraduate includes health education. So what if I broaden the category to health professionals?
Yes, healthcare professionals. And do you have any healthcare professionals in your downline that have been able to retire? Or they're doing really well that you could kind of highlight or feature? Or just across the company? I mean, it doesn't have to be yours. But.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Not like retired, totally replacing income, but yeah. That's really helpful. Thank you so much. Yeah. I feel like I now have to go in and change my headline and my banner.
Oh, you will. You'll do it over and over again. Right. I still change mine.
Okay.
I see Bethany raising her hand, and then Ellen. Yep. Go ahead, Bethany.
Thanks. So I figured I would just kind of run this by you, Melissa, because I'm not really sure if I want to go this route or not. But I'm a former pro athlete and also a personal trainer back in the day. And I know that athletes and personal trainers are really, you know, sometimes very challenging to deal with. So what would you suggest there?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Good question. So, you know, it's
interesting. I do have one more thing, which is kind of my main avatar, which is former business owner. I had 3 brick and mortar businesses, and I was the mom that had no time freedom. So that right there is really my main niche.
Yeah.
But wondering about the athlete thing.
Yeah. So let's talk it out. What I would, so that you're not overwhelmed with, what I find is trying to meet two avatars at one time is going to kind of overwhelm you with like getting really clear on their pain point and your value proposition. So I will take you back to the kind of the question I had with Bonnie, is between the two, you know, who's spending more time on professional development and networking on a professional platform? Would it be the professional athlete or someone who has been the professional athlete, or would it be the small business owner, right? I would venture to say probably the small business owner. Now, what's interesting is when I was in the pharmaceutical industry, like so many of the top sales reps were former like college athletes. They have this like tough mental mindset, you know? And so it's interesting because for sure, there's a ton of professional and college level athletes that are active on LinkedIn that are now in some type of business, and they're probably very successful because, you know, it's that mental toughness, mental mindset that made them a pro athlete, right? That also they applied those same principles to become ridiculously successful in business. So Bethany, I would actually, this is where the exercise I gave you guys on kind of coming up with a couple of different pillars of your branding and your story, I would make that one thing that you focus on when you get to creating content and putting it through LinkedIn, is that you talk about the pro athlete mindset, you know, speaking from experience and the success of pro athletes in business. You want to take that like business angle, but see what that does is, you know, all of us are unique snowflakes. There's so many things beyond just Isagenix. And what that's going to do is help people get to know you as a human. And those little quirky things about us is like what people remember about you. And then you're not just constantly pushing your business and being salesy, right? So like one of my biggest mentors is Kelly Roche, and she was a professional cheerleader for the Philadelphia Eagles, right? And so she constantly is talking about, you know, showing up like a professional athlete, having that mental toughness as a professional athlete that you do in your business. So I could totally see you uniquely owning that on LinkedIn, right? Like having that background as a professional athlete, but applying it to business, right? And then one of your other pillars can be that you have been a small business owner. You've done that, right? And knowing all the pain points of it and how network marketing is so much more simplistic, right? And it's lower risk. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree with all of that. Okay. And that's kind of where I was going. I was thinking I was just going to use that more of just like in posts and stuff.
Yeah.
I love the idea of, you know, how the professional athlete, it's the mindset and how you apply that into business. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, you know, for content, you may even want to Google like pro athletes in business, right? Like I bet you could start finding some really cool articles and stuff. And initially you might think, oh my gosh, this is like a squirrel hunt. But no, the reality is like, your brand on LinkedIn, like working that brand is creating relationships with the cold market that get to know you. So, you know, spending a week, you know, a couple of hours, you know, this week or next week, just doing a little research and like having that set aside as some content that you push through could actually be totally worth creating that relationship with people out there.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa.
Yeah. All right, Ellen.
Thank you so much. I'm getting so much value out of hearing everybody's shares. Like a lot of what's been talked about thus far, for me at first, it was a bit of a challenge putting the avatar together because for the last 7 years, I've really been solely focused on developing and mentoring millennials. And as college age and forward, partly because my kids were going to be transitioning into the business with me. And I just really enjoy it. I guess it kind of keeps me young, and they're better with technology than I am. But with that being said, I after your statistics, I obviously wasn't going on LinkedIn for that shift. And I was very open, and I felt very welcoming to this idea of young, successful professionals that are looking to diversify their income, appreciate time freedom, and all of that. My history 18 years ago, exclusively prior to Isagenix, was only as an actress and an artist. And it's interesting because I've been successful in that niche, but it's a really, really, really tough niche for the general to enter into and get somebody to take their head out of that dream. So knowing that artists don't hang out on LinkedIn, knowing that the millennial sort of generation is not the best on LinkedIn, what I did was I thought, well, this is an opportunity to take everything that I've learned about and I put it together in more of a general sense. And I think this is my question. So I'm focusing on successful young entrepreneurs that are looking to diversify their income. They are craving time freedom, are wishing to earn what they deserve, and they just don't know where to go or how to do it. And in this current time in the world, I'm looking for people that recognize the importance of having e-commerce and a virtual business. So it lends to men, it lends to women. I still want to skew my avatar, maybe 30s. And I is that too general? Because I've come up with like an entire notebook of content and posts. I went on to like module 3 or just starting 4 because I wanted to see how this was going to all sew together. So I kind of worked backwards a bit when I was stuck. And then I also was working headline where I put in a call to action beyond my labels. So my labels, producer, actress, entrepreneur, investor, professional networker, teaching people how to have it all, residual passive income, essentially. So do you think that my header, approaching my avatar, will lend to streamlining content in such a way to attract accessible people that are looking for me potentially?
So can you read off your headline to me one more time?
Yeah, I had, prior to doing your course, I had professional networker, entrepreneur, actress, producer, investor, and self-made millionaire. And I left that, and what I added was teaching you how to have it all by building a passive residual income stream online.
Okay. And that, the second half that you just shared with me, is that leading in your headline now, or is that the second part of your headline? Do you still have?
I started with just the labels of the words. Okay. So I have like the 5 descriptions because I was trying to have validity of the success I've had in the industry, but I was also bringing in the other aspects because, some of my content is lack versus abundant mindset. And some of that comes from out of the artist mindset. So I was trying to, and then the avatar specifically relative to all of this in LinkedIn really are people that are family value oriented, because the switch I made from putting my acting career on hold to jumping in full force with this company was because I wanted to provide a unique, special, and abundant life for my children. So that to me was the greatest call to action for LinkedIn, to find those other parents or wannabe parents that to create that have it all life for their family living, so to speak.
Okay.
Is that,
oh my gosh.
all over the place, or do you think that I'm in the right?
No, I love this. So we're going to go through a couple of things. Because you said a couple of things that I love. First of all, what I want you guys to realize, even though the average age of the user of LinkedIn is older than Instagram or Facebook, what you guys have to understand is that LinkedIn has evolved so much over the past couple of years because the millennials make up the majority of the workforce now, okay? And so what you're seeing is this tug and pull on LinkedIn where like the older professionals are really miffed with how the younger professionals are using the platform, right? And the younger professionals, the millennials, are saying, get over it, dude. There's more of us than there are of you, and you're about out, right? And so I want you to be comfortable that there's a ton of young professionals over there who are hungry and are looking to connect. They're looking, they maybe never even been presented the network marketing industry and are actually more open than the 45-year-old who's seen too many stories where it didn't work, right? Like, so don't be afraid. Like, don't discredit the fact that there are a ton of young professionals over there. And actually, you might even want those more than the ones that are spending way more time on Instagram and Facebook because they're really focused on growing and scaling and connecting for professional development, right? Now, one of the things that you said, Ellen, that I love, that I want you to think about when you start thinking about your journaling. I say journaling, I haven't really talked about this much, but the more you guys journal about your avatar, the easier it's going to be to create content. And one of the things you just said to me was that the reason I put my acting career on hold was so that I could have this abundant life with my family and with my children, right? Insert anything. It doesn't have to be acting career. I left my corporate career because I wanted an abundant life with my children, right? People leave their clinical career. Like 850,000 women have left the workforce in the last 30 days, whether it's acting or an attorney or a nurse. The data shows that it's across all spectrums, right? That women are exiting the workforce. And so I want you to think about that your message and your choice to leave your acting career, like those reasons maternalistically are no different for the moms who are leaving their other positions, right? So maybe you don't have to use the word acting when you're making a post like that. Maybe it's more like, I've been in your shoes, have you ever? I love leading with have you ever. Have you ever felt like you've had to make the choice, right? I see you like nodding, right? So yeah. Okay, so here's another thing. I love the word diversify income. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. One of the number one mistakes I see most people do on LinkedIn is, and I'm gonna use you as an example, Ellen, not to make you feel bad, but because probably more than half the people here are doing the same thing. And that is that they use their headline more to showcase their success than they're using it as a value proposition to create curiosity, right? What I want you guys to understand is the first 6 words in your headline follow you everywhere. There's no other platform where you literally have 6 words as prime real estate. When you start engaging on LinkedIn and making comments, like I've gotten so many leads by just following Gary Vaynerchuk, and when he makes a post and 800 other people do, I get in the chat box and I start chatting, because I know that everyone who follows him is a young entrepreneurial spirit, and they see corporate dropout, 6-figure side hustle, and they're like immediately requesting to connect with me because my headline follows me into the chat box. It doesn't just say Melissa Hinault. It says Melissa Hinault, corporate dropout, 6-figure side hustle, whatever, LinkedIn expert, right? And so every time I engage in a chat like that, hands down, I get requests to connect from Gary Vee's network, or you name it, Tony Robbins' network, Rachel Hollis's network. Like, guys, it's a money-making factory, but you have to be enticing to the network to want to connect with you, right? And so the number one mistake I see is I could put PharmD, podcaster, right? Like some people are authors or even millionaire, right? The problem with millionaire in the first 6 words is a lot of people are just going to they're going to think they're not qualified for that, right? Even people who are showing up making 6-figure, multiple 6 figures might be intimidated by that and think, well, good for her, right? And so what I do love though is the word diversifying income, right? So what I do love is, mentoring others to diversify income. So my point is, I'll use, this is a totally different example, but I think you guys, it's a good take home message. So I have a private client who recruits she's a career pivot coach for pharmacists. Okay. And when she had me review her profile, in her headline, it said author, podcaster, pharmacist. And I was like, well, Dr. Jerika, this is great, but are you using LinkedIn to recruit for your podcast? And she's like, no. I'm like, are you using it to publish a book? She's like, no. And I'm like, what are you using it for? And she said, to recruit pharmacists to help them pivot in their career. I'm like, your value proposition is not in your headline. And the moment she changed her headline, and instead of it saying podcaster, author, pharmacist, she changed her headline to say career pivot coach. She immediately started getting leads because her avatar, when they saw that, was curious. What does she have I want to get out of pharmacy. What does she have to offer me, right? So you want to be thinking about your avatar right now. And if your headline is just showboating, they might either feel intimidated by it, or don't understand your value proposition and you haven't created curiosity, right? So you want to, I like to say you want it to be a little cheeky, right? Like I've got a client who uses, she's from Monet, but she was an attorney, right? And her headline now says attorney flips script, now 6-figure, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember what the rest of it is, but attorney flips script. Her avatar is so tight. She wants women attorneys, right? That's who she's going after. And as soon as she got that laser focused, and it's kind of cheeky, right? Attorney flips script. But people are like, what is that? If you're a mom and you're an attorney and you're a female, and it makes all the sense in the world to create curiosity. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions, Ellen?
Does that mean then that you would have us release all those labels that we thought were potentially there for credibility, and just have the value proposition, like teaching others to diversify their online, or
so I would use the first 6 words for catching attention, and then you can put whatever you want after that for credibility. And the thing is, if you catch their attention, they're going to go to your profile.
Okay.
Right? You have 3 seconds. LinkedIn is just like Facebook and Instagram in the sense that you have their attention for 3 seconds. So if you're in a comment chat where 800 people are commenting with Gary Vee, in less than 3 seconds, they're like, what does she have to offer? They're not going to go to your profile, right? The goal is to get them off of your headline and into your page, where there you can tell the story because you've gotten their attention, right? Yep. Awesome. All right. What other questions do you guys have? Looks like somebody wanted to share something. Is that you? Oh, no, she's not on. She just sent me a text message. I don't think she's in here. Is Lynn Kemper in here?
Lynn Hagedorn wanted to say that.
Oh, hey, Lynn.
Oh, if it's helpful, yeah. I have a leader on my team that has been working with LinkedIn for about 6 months. But her background is in corporate, but she decided to make her avatar more coaches and trainers. Mm-hmm. And so I just wanted to share that, you don't have to have that as a background. That's not her background. She was a corporate executive. She just felt like there's a lot of coaches out there, trainers that really need a side hustle. And she's done extremely well. And she is sponsoring and enrolling new people all the time, just honing in on that and finding where those people hang out. So I don't want you to feel like, oh gosh, what is it in my background? Because she's been successful doing that, and she's very confident in putting herself out there that way.
Yeah. And here's the thing, Lynn, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's like a whole nother brainstorming exercise, is to think about coaches, people who are consulting and coaching, especially business coaches, like they're clearly entrepreneurial in the first place. Mm-hmm. And they didn't want to work for anyone else. Right. So like, you're just condensing time and like really getting to the right network of people who are open-minded in the first place and not wanting to work for someone else. So I love that.
And just to share, I guess I should have said, she means more like coaches, like athlete coaches.
Oh, okay.
Personal trainers, sorry. But the other would work as well. Like Michael, my husband, is definitely focusing on the speakers world because those people are out of jobs right now. Yep. So he's really honed in on that avatar, but she has focused in on the wellness professionals.
Okay. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's the other thing, is the fitness professionals that are active on LinkedIn, to your point, they've lost an entire income, right? Like I just brought in a guy, most of the people I've brought in the fitness arena have some other background too, but like I just brought in a guy out of Southern California who is he's a fitness professional on the side, but he works in corporate America as a medical device rep, but his wife is a fitness trainer, right? So now they have this whole dynamic going in a way to create a secondary income stream. So absolutely. I'm totally missing the chat box here. What else? What am I missing here?
Quick question, Melissa.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So just to run this by you and the group, burned out healthcare pro to wellness mentor, 6-figure side hustle.
Yeah. Wellness mentor. So I love the transition. Burnout health. Say it one more time.
Burned out healthcare pro.
Uh-huh.
I could say professional, I think. Uh-huh. to wealth wellness mentor, 6-figure side hustle.
Yep. Wealth wellness mentor. Yeah, I like all of it. The only feedback I would give, and the rest of you guys, I would love your feedback. Like I would take mentor, like I'd go another step and say leader. Like to me, mentor is like a little bit less passive, like a little bit more passive, and leader is more like, I don't know, you just own it a little more.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
It's not a hobby. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions before I segue into what you guys have on deck? You really have been kind of jumping into it.
Melissa, it's Jessica. Hi.
Hey, JJ.
Hi. First, I think Bethany's a millionaire today.
Yes, I am. Thanks, Jessica. Number 329. It's funny. It's on my vision board 333, and I'm like, okay, I'll take 329.
Yay!
You will.
Congrats.
Congratulations. That's really exciting. I just saw that a few minutes ago. You're absolutely crushing it, girl. I remember when you took off a few years ago and you've crushed it. So happy for you.
That's awesome.
Melissa, am I the only one? I might have missed this the first 7 minutes. Am I the only one having a hard time printing the homework modules for getting the avatar?
Anybody else having problems?
I can't get into that. Yeah, I haven't been able to. It goes in a circle. So it's going, maybe it could be my PC. I couldn't do it on my phone, so I got on my PC. And I kind of wrote it out, but I'd rather follow your page.
So Carolyn just held hers up. So you must be printable. I see a couple people holding it up. Are you downloading the PDF where you click on the PDF and then
the PDF is not there?
I don't know.
Yes, it is.
So I have to say, in our Facebook chat, Lisa DeMeo actually posted this morning she was having trouble as well. So maybe it's just something new as of, was this just today, Jessica?
Just have to scroll down. It's there. I didn't see it at first.
I got it. It was. So yeah, it'll send you in circles until you scroll to the actual PDF. You know what? Maybe it's just hard to find that PDF, Melissa. That's just good feedback for your team.
Yeah.
And by the way, you are freaking awesome. You guys, I've had the pleasure of working with Melissa, having conversations on couches over champagne, saying, get your ass moving. You're a 6-figure chick, and now she's just absolutely crushing it. So I'm so proud of you. And guys, I think Melissa's like 6 or 7 PE down in my organization. And, we talk pretty much daily. We're on text, and I'm so excited to be one of your little students this time. I love it. And you're awesome, and we love you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Well, I learned from the best, right? I use Jessica as an example a lot of times when I'm on a call with a prospect where I'm like, we've got investment bankers who've left their 9-to-5s to do this. So I've been leaning on your story, Jessica, since day one. Okay. Any other questions? I'm just going to kind of vision cast to what's up on the docket this week. So we've already gotten into it. I can't wait till next week for those of you who haven't really started the storefront work. So this week, module 2, we really get into, you've gotten a preamble with a lot of folks here, your headline, your value proposition. I've already kind of given you guys the advice to like focus on creating curiosity more than boosting your ego when it comes to headline. You want some credibility there, but if you don't catch their attention, they're not going to really care. There's a ton of podcasters, there's a ton of authors, but what is it that you have to offer them that's going to make them want to go to your page and see what you have to offer, right? So you're going to be working on, I call it your storefront. It's your virtual business card on LinkedIn, your banner, right? So be asking yourself, like, what type of emotion do I want to elicit when people come to my page? I've captured their curiosity from the headline and engagement somewhere. They've come to my profile. What type of emotion do you want to elicit? Because most people on LinkedIn who don't own their own business leave it this like drab blue, like banner. They don't do any work on it, right? So, and most people, remember, they're on LinkedIn on their work computer and they're bored out of their minds. So when they actually come to your page, you want them to feel inspired, welcomed, warm, right? Energy. For the longest time, guys, do you remember a couple years ago when we had the gala and they had the words gala written in those big light letters, like the big bulbs, right? I had like a photo of our team just, dressed to the nines, having a blast, right? And that was like my banner for the longest time. And I got so many leads by corporate professionals that just said, I don't even know what you're doing, but you're clearly working for yourself and you're having a good time, right? So ask yourself, like, what type of emotion, when people come to my page, how do I want them to feel, right? So that's number one. Canva is a great place to work, creating banners if you've never been over there before. I also have a team that does that if you want like the quick and dirty. And then you're going to be working on your photo, right? So I'm sure all of you guys have professional photos done. You don't be so buttoned up, even though it's LinkedIn, like don't be in a blazer, be smiling. Again, what type of energy do you want to elicit? You want to really be warm and welcoming. And then you're going to be working on that headline. The last thing you're going to be working on this week, and this will just be kind of my final advice, is on that summary section. So many people, fatal mistake number 2, many people treat LinkedIn like their resume, okay? If the only time you've ever used LinkedIn in the past 20 years was to look for a job, likely you have a resume style summary that starts with what you did 20 years ago. Even if all you've done is network marketing, you may still have like this chronological story of yourself. Again, I want to take you guys back to, you have 3 seconds to capture your audience's attention. Complete cold market. Let's say you catch their attention with the headline and they go to your page, okay? This is where you're either going to win them or you're going to lose them, okay? If in the first 3 sentences you're talking about what you did 20 years ago, you've lost them, right? It's like the number one mistake I see is people talking about, well, 25 years ago, I was a technician at Duke University, and then I went blah, 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 right? It's like, you lost them. Like, and then all the goodness is like down at the bottom and they're gone. So what I want you to think about when you're working on your summaries is, okay, they just landed on my page. They're curious about what I have to offer. Give them the goods. In the first 3 sentences, what can you say that's powerful, that's inspiring, that's going to want to make them read more? What are you passionate about? What are you doing? Why are you in this? Like, why are you passionate about it? And so you want them to light up to then read more, right? So if that means you need to start with your mental state right now and what you're excited about with the future with this company, start there. It doesn't need to be in chronological order at all. For those of you who have had a professional life before network marketing or any type of 9-to-5 job, regardless, you may then want to feed into some of the pain points and why you left it, right? Like why this industry has set you free and why you're inspired to inspire others to come into this industry. So, I think about you, Bonnie. You were a school teacher. You were a franchise owner. Yes, you've been in this industry for a while, but you may want to go through the story of being the school teacher, and you thought, well, no, I'm going to be a tell the story quick and succinctly. But, I was in the school system, and then I decided to become my own business owner. But then I found that, and then all like the things you want to say about being a small business owner that suck, right? And then I landed in this industry because blah, 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 right? So it's like, but you want to get them in the first 3 sentences that they're like, yeah, like I want to read more, right? So don't start with your life, a bazillion years ago. Again, dive right into the value proposition, why you're excited, how you're going to change your life, and that they want to read on. And that is your storefront. And I'm having you guys do this week because when we get you growing your network, the moment you send a request to connect, I want people to, what happens when people request to connect to you, right? Like you go check them out, right? So when they go to check you out, I want them to be wowed. I want them to be curious. And so that's why we're doing this in a stepwise fashion, so that when you go to connect, you've got this awesome virtual business storefront, right? Okay, any questions before we wrap up today? Yes, Lynn.
Just curious, and not that you need to dive into this because I know this is down the line. I did do a few modules ahead. I can't remember where I heard you talk about using some sort of program to keep you organized, because I can see how very quickly it could get a little overwhelming if you're not organized. Are you going to share how we can maybe use Penny?
Oh,
or do you think we can't use Penny?
No. So I would, you know what? Let me take Murray Miller nominated himself to talk to you guys about Penny. because he's been loving using Penny and he uses it. I personally started this 2 years ago with Asana, and I'm so far deep in like using that platform that it would be such an overhaul for me to like export everything that's in there and put it into Penny that I've stayed on Asana. But I'm glad you brought that up. I will message Murray and we will work through having a little workshop with you guys, and he'll lead it on how he's using it.
Because everything I'm doing, I'm thinking about duplicating, of course. Like every single thing, it's like, okay, how can we create ease with this and simplicity? Yes. And if we can keep it all in one place, that would just be
100%. And that's what the reason I picked up Asana 2 years ago was once the engagement starts to happen and the conversations start flowing, your feed is so full. You cannot keep up. And so you have to have a system that holds you accountable. Yeah. Awesome. Let's see. When are the hot seat coaching calls? So on this Wednesday, they're on the Wednesdays that we have the makeup call. So originally, this is kind of confusing, but originally I had hot seat coaching calls the weeks that we didn't have coaching calls. So basically the weeks that our calls are at 3 o'clock, there's also a hot seat because we just added those calls. There's a hot seat coaching that Wednesday from 10 to 11. So this Wednesday from 10 to 11. And the email address is hotseatcoaching@burnouttoallout.co. You guys good? Okay, Bonnie says, when we reach out to connect, would we add oh my gosh, yes. We're going to get into that. Guys, some of you are getting really excited about you're already sending messages to requesting to connect. Do not send a message to connect without adding an open-ended question, okay? That is like, I had somebody the other day tell me they've gone from 200 to 1,000 in their network with no interaction. I'm like, were you asking an open-ended question? And they were like, well, no. I'm like, don't let that happen. A lot of you maybe are just now starting on LinkedIn and you've got a ton of people who've already requested to connect with you. Don't just accept the request to connect. Fatal mistake. So I used to like just do it on my phone. It's really tempting to just accept. You want to get in straight into conversation. So for those of you that are that far ahead already, I'll go ahead and tell you what I say. So you guys can write this down. These are $1 million nuggets. So when someone requests to connect, and this is also going to help you understand if your headline's working, okay? When you start putting it out there. When people request to connect to me, I follow up. When I accept the request to connect, I follow up. And by the way, if you've got VAs, have them do it. I don't do this anymore. My VA does all of it for me. Accept the request to connect and say, thank you for the request to connect. And this is just my personality. I say, I'm glad to add your energy to my feed, right? And then I ask a engaging question. I'm curious, what was it about my profile that piqued your curiosity to connect with me? Okay. You're going to be surprised, especially when you start playing with your headline and it creates curiosity. On the daily, I get responses on, well, it was the 6-figure side hustle piece. I'm trying to figure out how you're doing that as a side gig. Oh, well, it's the corporate burnout piece. I'm burnout in corporate, or I see that you're a LinkedIn expert. I need help with LinkedIn, right? So that helps me. That they engaged with me, and you guys know, like you guys are tenured network marketers. It takes a couple of touches to really start to draw that person in. But that's a really first quick litmus test of why they're interested in connecting with you. And on LinkedIn, if your lead headline has something to do with business, secondary income streams, residual income streams, diversifying income, and the first thing they say back to you is, well, I see that you're an expert at diversifying incomes. Bam, that opens up the door to then ask them if they're curious and learning more about it, right? Like there's no more of this like going back and forth a million times on Facebook, pretending like we're friends before we talk about the business. We're just going straight to business. So that's my verbiage advice for that. If you're requesting to connect with people, I would tell you guys my favorite verbiage that is totally helping me get into tons of conversations with people right now is first of all, take the time to look at their profile so that you can make it personal, because people hate being spammed on every platform. And what I will say is when I request to connect with them, I will say, you know, that I'm requesting to connect with them. And then I like make a comment about their profession. And if you have some common ground with them, then speak to that common ground, right? So like Carolyn, if you are drilling down to flight attendants, you can say, you know, hey, so-and-so would love to connect with you. I see we both have common ground in the airline industry. And then here is the tagline. This creates so much conversation that gets you straight to business. Curious, how are things going in insert profession? Curious, how are things going in insert profession, the airline industry, in light of the current work conditions? Okay. This is an open door for people to unleash to you that things suck, things are great, that they're overwhelmed, right? Like I can't tell you how many conversations have taken me straight to the phone in less than a week, because when I send that message, they say, gosh, hours are cut. I'm not seeing as many patients. You know, it's not great. It kind of sucks. How's it going with you? And it opens the door for me to say, man, I totally feel you. I'm definitely working with a lot of professionals who are experiencing the same stress. I'm just curious, would you be open to taking a look at an additional income stream? I see that you XYZ, right? Like lean in on something about their profession that they would be good at this. This kind of goes back to some of the stuff you're probably already doing on the other platforms, but you get right to it, right? So I'll say it one more time. I say, you know, how are things going in your whatever profession in light of the current work conditions? And if you send that to like 15 to 20 people a day right now, targetedly, you're going to start generating conversation with people for sure, especially on a professional platform where people are looking for opportunities, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys, it is 4:20. We're good. I will see some of you on Hot Seat Coaching Center. We'll pick 4 because we'll have time for 4 on Thursday. You guys can come join us. It'll be streaming live. I'll be using StreamYard, so you'll get a link for it so you can jump in. We're streaming on Facebook Live, but I just use a certain platform. It makes it easy to do. The rest of you are welcome to jump into the feed at 10 and catch the live and engage and ask questions, or just catch it later and binge whenever it works for you. I see Kathy's trying to get in now. We'll let her in even though we're just about to wrap up. But yeah, so you can submit your questions for the Hot Seat Coaching. I'll say it one more time, hotseatcoaching@burnouttoallout.co. Hey, Kathy, I saw you're jumping in and we're wrapping up, but I don't know if maybe
I had a meeting here at the office I had already scheduled, but yeah, I'll listen to the recording.
Okay. Well, I think we had a good session today. I think everybody's getting some clarity on their avatar right now. All right, so we'll see you guys back on a Zoom call next week, but we'll have the Hot Seat Coaching on Thursday. Okay?
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.